Hi everyone, it's James here from Pro Tools Expert, and I have travelled across the great divide that is the River Thames to North London to join Peter Gregson, cellist extraordinaire.
Thank you.
In his studio. This place is absolutely awesome. It's small and mighty.
Yeah. Well, it's small. It's I think with the cello stuff, often you get asked to record things. They don't want a big slushy sound. If they want a big slushy sound, you go to Abbey Road, you go to Air, you go to a big room. Mm-hmm. And so Joe and I have this little space, but it's really controllable and you can do anything you want with it.
Very, very cool. I say it's walking in. It was like walking into a toy shop.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, and I'm the first to put my hand up and say I'm not qualified to, to use most of it. But sharing a studio with a mix engineer is a huge bonus for access to things. A lot of the compression and EQs and stuff. Occasionally, I'm allowed to touch, and it makes things sound a lot better. But yeah, I stick to the reverbs and delay kind of corners.
So, cellist first and foremost, presumably?
Yeah, by training. I started cello when I was 4 and got interested in electronics and things when I think I started to realise maybe the cello wasn't the coolest thing in the world. But, electric guitars were really cool. So to put the two together, my brother's a guitarist, so I had lots of pedals and amps and stuff at home.
And we've got an electric five-string cello?
Yeah. Yeah, so this, I'm doing some, so I had this one made. So it's five strings, so normal cello, C, G, D, A, and then a top E string, which basically means I can play faster, easier. Mm-hmm. It's got polyphonic outputs, so I can send each string to a different channel, different effect, different whatever.
Very, very cool.
It does also. It's got one of these, the Roland MIDI
GK type thing,
which is really good pizzicato's. Rubbish with a bow, but if you get a strong transient, it's pretty cool. But yeah, so I started doing stuff with electronics. I was probably like 13 or 14, and then just took it quite far, I suppose. And with that goes a lot of the music that you end up playing. So it's all kind of quite left field contemporary classical music. Fire in a pet shop, scary noises, and that kind of stuff. And then started transitioning into working in film. So those sorts of sounds aren't really replicatable by computers. Mm-hmm. They can't sequence them well, and they sound very expensive. It's the analogy I always like with sampling and sequencing is it's like using, you've got 1,000 straight lines, you can make it look like a circle. The more lines you've got, the better the circle.
Absolutely, yep.
And something like this, adding like a little texture in here, a little texture, does round it off. It's like running, through a tape, or just adds some texture to it. And it's all, as I say, my background is in kind of in classical cello playing. But
so you're a student of the Royal Academy or the college?
Yeah, I was at the Royal Academy of Music on Regent's Park, not that far from here.
Beautiful part of the world. So, Pro Tools user?
Yeah.
We'll say it out loud. We'll swear on camera. Cubase, Logic.
Yeah, because I work for a lot of composers, so I work in whatever they write in. It minimises mistakes. Mm-hmm. So the Cubendo world is mine.
I like that.
Logic, Pro Tools, not Digital Performer.
Right.
Proud to say, not Digital Performer.
See, now I actually came when I was at pre-Sibelius.
Right.
I was a DP user.
Were you?
Yeah, absolutely adore it.
Huh.
And then Avid bought Sibelius, and then I thought, well, I might as well jump back to Pro Tools. Yeah. So, and I've been there ever since.
There was a composer I was working for, and I was sent exports from his DP sessions, and they were there was with no malice on his behalf or no incompetence, there was always something wrong. Mm-hmm. And so that was the one I normally sort of get if like when I first started working with a composer who was using Cubase, I thought, well, I'll suck it up, I'll get it, it'll make my life easier. Before that, I was with, I just used Pro Tools or Logic if I was doing kind of laptop-y quick things. Yeah, and it really made my life so much better having access to all the different.
The right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
Why translate if you don't have to?
Well, this is it. And the reality of a lot of my life is that it's spent at 4:00 in the morning redoing a cue that's just been dismissed by a director, and actually rebuilding a session is quite far from my mind at that point.
But it's funny how we talk about, I'm a Sibelius user, I'm a Cubase user, I'm a whatever. There's not that much difference between them all. Do you find you have the whole, I think it's called retroactive inhibition, where you go for one shortcut and you're in the wrong program for that?
I'm next level. I've mapped mine all to the Pro Tools keyboard, so all the shortcuts are the same. So it actually makes no difference to me.
That's very
With
cool.
the exception of Logic zooming in and out, I still use the Apple up and down for that. Just do. But otherwise, Cubase I've got mapped the same as Pro Tools.
But it is the Pro Tools mapping you're using, not trying to...
Because I don't know if you can, but I as I say, tech fool here, but I don't think... Can you change the keyboards in Pro Tools?
Answers on a postcard, please.
I don't think you can.
I'm not sure you can.
You certainly couldn't when I first looked at it.
And if you've got a workflow that works, then...
Exactly. So I just made sure that all the kind of standard... And also the important ones, like record and things, I've got them all down so I can do them with the tip of a cello bow from a distance.
Right, yeah.
I do now have an iPad, which I sometimes... But actually the cello bow works better.
So, but no controller as such? No kind of faders or...
No, we've got one of these little PreSonus single ones. I just, I personally, as a composer, I do write... I do mix, but not for anyone else.
Right.
When I'm celloing, I'm sending it back, and
when
it's
you're
getting mixed by someone else.
Yeah, and when you're composing, you're presumably not in Pro Tools, presumably.
I did actually write my last album in Pro Tools.
Right.
Largely because it was a surround for a surround specialist label. High Fidelity, a label in the States called Sonoluminous, and it's high definition classical music. And I couldn't get it was a sample rate. They wanted everything done at 192, and so I just did it all in Pro Tools.
Awesome.
And it was all audio rather than MIDI. So there was a lot of synth stuff that I did. Got a Moog here, and I've just got them actually, the little Roland boutiques. But there was a Polyvox and a Pro One. There's a bunch of kind of old school. There was a great big round of angry Russian synths that a friend of mine had.
Right.
And so I went and kind of sampled them up and tracked
Very
them in.
cool.
But it was all done with audio, so I just kept it in. I still, for all the talk of working in other doors and things, I mean, handling that size of audio, it's just, and that number of edits, because incompetence kicks in.
Well, to me, that's where something like Pro Tools really takes off. When you start dealing with audio, Pro Tools and MIDI, I think they've always been playing catch up.
Sure.
But I think Pro Tools and audio, that's where it started. It's a tape deck and it's a mixer.
This is it. And I have a couple of friends who compose exclusively in Pro Tools, and they love it and they totally swear by it. But they're also, quite tech keen. Like they're really into making all this stuff work. And I love it for, as you say, like a tape machine. I love it just to go in and tab to transient is my best friend.
Yep. And anyone who hasn't got that highlight on the
They're not doing it right.
they don't know how to use Pro Tools.
They're doing it wrong.
They're just doing it wrong. Again, you heard it here first. It's one of the most fundamental first things you learn. Click.
Yeah.
Leave it. Stand well back.
Just don't think it. Just don't overthink it.
So, obviously, you don't exclusively record in here, but when someone wants that kind of smaller, more intimate sort of sound, we can see a friend.
We have a friend here.
Over my shoulder.
Mr. Sontronics, Mr. Aria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you a one mic on cello kind of guy?
I'm a one mic owner. I don't own anything else.
Well,
and Lisa didn't pay me to say genuinely that's the only mic I own. We did a blind test of microphones with actually I think he reads your blog, Michael Price, composer, and he's got an amazing mic selection. Just to die for.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably it's not quite Abbey Road or Blackbird, his collection, but it's not far off.
That's the closest analogy.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's got an amazing mic selection, and he and I were looking at doing some stuff, and thought, well, we'll look at what the best microphone would be. So I went up to his old house with Joe, who I share a studio with, who mixes stuff for Michael, and we did a blind test. We just stuck a load of mics up, I think like 15 or whatever, and Lisa had sent us the prototype of the Aria.
Which I haven't got. I do not have that microphone. I haven't got it. Lisa, I haven't got it.
But she sent us a version of that, and we put them all up, recorded a bunch of really simple things, and listened back to them. It was really simple. And every round, the Aria, I don't know whether it's, the quirk of that room and my cello, or that microphone and my cello, or whatever it was, but it just came out top on every round. And, it's really good value. And so Michael and I bought a matched pair. So we've got a sort of matched capsules, but matched files. But I do most of my recording from here, and it's just a very honest, even sound. We do sometimes put room mics up. There's a composer that I work with occasionally who's really specific about room mics. And they kind of go at the back.
Sit up in the corner
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly. We'll put them on a mic stand behind the speaker bridge and just fly it as high up as we can. But I'm not hugely convinced, to be honest with you. I don't really
It's
think
quite a dry room, isn't it? So it's not
Yeah.
like you're going to get a huge natural reverb.
you're not going to get a lot from it. And I feel that by miking, I do keep it quite far off. I don't put it right in the belly of the beast. So there is a bit of reflection, or a bit of air between the two.
But I think that's a better way to get a more natural sound of the instrument, a more honest sound.
But a lot of it gets, and unfortunately, due to the tedious world of non-disclosure agreements, can't really explain what they are. But a lot of the films that I've done from here are upmixed and sound huge. It doesn't sound like it's recorded in a tiny little room in North London. I mean, it's there's some very clever people doing some very
good
things.
mix engineers and some very good tools out there to make.
But I mean, I tend to send back. We were talking, before we started filming, my favourite toy, the Bricasti, the M7, which was I think still is hands down the second best money I've ever spent, other than my wedding rings.
Well said. Well said.
But it's just so. I mean, the little 0.6, 0.7 kind of room reverbs, the tiny reflection, just tickling them on a send. But it, to my ears, certainly in a room like this, does more than having a room pair. It does the same kind of thing. It just widens it and just puts it a bit.
I think it puts it in an acoustic environment.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's exactly what reverb's supposed to do.
But that's more natural than it should be, really.
And it's a lot of dough. They are an expensive beast.
It is, but it's cheaper than a bigger studio.
Yeah.
And I can control it.
And it's never double booked.
Yeah, exactly.
You can always get in.
Yeah. But I think the other thing that's great, the acoustic cello is one thing. It's obviously got its own resonance. The electric cello has nothing. It's just dead. It's like an electric guitar in that respect, except the process of bowing it does obviously excite the strings. And when I started recording on it for people, I'd send stuff back and they're like, yeah, it sounds very MIDI. Like, oh. So it doesn't sound like that here. I'm playing. It's like, it sounds good. It sounds kind of vibey and scratching, kind of textural. And then it occurred to me that actually half of the sound is under your ear. It's the stuff it's the bow on the string. It's that because the sort of resonance of an acoustic cello covers all of that, you're not so aware of the impact of a bow. But when you can isolate out signal to noise on the electric cello, the noise is a huge part of the electric cello sound. And so I now actually, Aria, use the microphone to record the electric cello. And
so you get the attack and
you get the kind of
the grit, the hiss.
Yeah, it's really high end. I mean, but it just adds so much personality to it. So that I slap because it's so quiet. that is right up on the bow. If I could have a kind of clip-on bow mic that moved, I would do that. Like that's all it's doing. But yeah, so I use that to do that, and then keep the electric cello DI dead, because that tends to be where people put their effects.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to delay the signal, it's going to be on the DI. But I will always put a little bit of this. I think it's the guitar room or play. I can't remember. It's my preset 1.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with Bricastis. People don't tend to mess with the presets because they're so damn good.
I know. I mean, it's set at 1.10 seconds. It must be the play. Anyway, I've got a big one which I use so rarely now. There's the Worcester Hall, which is in Worcester, Massachusetts, just outside Boston. And I was so delighted. I saw it in Altiverb, whenever it was, because when I was growing up, all my favourite cello recordings, Yo-Yo Ma recordings for Sony, were all a lot of them were recorded at Worcester Hall, Mechanics Hall in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And there's a really good IR of it.
Yes,
in there.
There's also one for I want to call it what's the Avid one? The Avid
Deverb?
AIR.
The
impulse response.
Impulse response. Yeah.
There's a really good response of that, and I found I was using like second row up close for drums.
Yeah.
To get a kind of real big concert hall drum sound.
Well, that's it. So I have that for my again, just tickling it on aux. But if I want that kind of big expansive sound, but actually increasingly, very. I think it's a little bit like it's a fashion of any type. But you listen to pop records, like you listen to a lot of stuff now. I don't know, like that Kendrick Lamar, the Pimp a Butterfly record.
Yep.
Like it's the vocal is like right in your face. It's brilliant. It's super dry.
But reverb's coming back. I found the last sort of 3 or 4 years, reverb's making a real resurgence.
Yeah.
In the mid '80s, when I was listening to sort of big rock albums.
What the Hugh Padgham,
the massive snare sound, or the sort of Phil Collins, the gated
stuff, yeah.
Reverb was massive. I mean, you only have to listen to a George Michael album from that sort of time, and it's just anything that was. It was like the de-esser was re-essing everything through a reverb, and it's an incredible trick, but technique, not trick.
I heard something about the snare, the reverb. It was about keeping the talk back open. I don't know if there's any truth to that. There was I read that somewhere, I think, online, because I was looking into making a big. I love gated again, the Bricasti, the gated, the non-linear reverbs rather, brilliant. And I read somewhere about the Phil Collins snare, that the compression on it, like the kind of the aggressiveness of it, was from leaving the talk back open. I don't know if that's.
I love the idea of that. I'd love it to be a happy accident.
I'd love that to be true, because we don't have talk back, so I can't do it. But
yeah, my talk back is shouting through the glass door. So let's talk signal chain just for a little bit, because we can. Because I don't get to record cello anything like as much as I'd like.
Sure.
I have done in my place, believe it or not.
You should always record more cello.
Always more cello, and I have to admit, I found I was using 2 mics.
Okay.
I had an Aria up close, and I had a is it the Sigma, the ribbon mic over the top. It's got a head height over the top to try and get
kind of the weird shaped.
Looks like a Remington
oblong
shaver.
That's the one. Yeah. Oh no, I was thinking the other one.
There's the Delta as the stereo
is that
one,
the
diamondy shaped one, and then there's the
Sigma that's the kind of old fashioned looking.
No, sorry, the Apollo is the stereo one. The Apollo's stereo. Delta is the guitar ribbon, and then there's Sigma, which is the normal mono figure of 8 ribbon. But I was using 2 mics, and it sounded awesome. And then we started to try and fake it by moving the cellist around the stereo pair to try and get that kind
space.
to try and fake a section.
Yeah.
Which in my room didn't work so well because it's so small. But I know we talk about that with sort of faking large vocal ensembles. Stereo pair move the vocals,
around.
not the mics.
Right.
And I've tried that before and failed miserably as well. But what are you running into? So you can get out of the Aria.
So, well, I mean, actually, a little note on that I do quite a lot of tracking, and in a big room. My first record we did at Real World, and did have the luxury of moving around a big, beautiful room. In it, I just knock the mic a few, and actually with better results than moving seats.
Because you've got a much deader room. So you're faking the reverb.
I'm faking the reverb. I just spin the mic around a bit and move it off axis.
Off axis.
Yeah.
If it works.
Horses for courses, I suppose.
I'll try it.
Yeah. So it's running in down here. We've got the 500 series with a bunch of things, some APIs, the Heritage Audio, Neve kind of rebuilds the 73s. They sound brilliant. I'm currently all about the API ones though. And I've got at home I have the UAD Apollo.
Yeah,
and
a twin
I've got,
or a
twin.
yeah.
Oh wait, no. It's the rack mounted one.
the 8.
Yeah. I just don't know the names of these things.
I only do.
I've got things
I
plugged
plug
into
it in
it.
and it goes into my Mac and it's fine.
Yeah, but I've got some 73. I've got the channel strips, for the preamps on there. Really like the gain on the APIs. If you're doing this sort of tickling, move the mic far back and crank it up, and get some real kind of juice out of it. That runs into, we've got the Apogee symphonies for AD.
So you're running the Mark 1 Symphony.
I'm running the Mark 1. Joe, we do have the new one as well. And that's plugged into what's amusingly called Joe's mobile rig.
Yeah,
I don't even know how you get out the door.
We'll show. We'll do some gear porn shots because there's enough in here to keep us going for hours.
But it's what's in the laughably called mobile rig. But yeah, the room it's one of Joe's, I think, finest hours. The whole room is accessible through one Thunderbolt cable, and so it all comes out through the monitor, and then we hot swap the computers in and out.
And you're running this entire room from a MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
I'm assuming a fairly well-spec'd MacBook Pro.
From 2012, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm rocking the same machine.
Yeah. That's the first generation Retina.
Yeah, it's the same one I've got, yeah.
Do you know what? We both have them. We both do it. And it means, all things being equal, the Blackmagic SSD docks, you just come in, put your drives in. It's magic. It really is brilliant. Like, it's a brilliant system. Especially for us sharing a room. He works off-site about half the time. I work off-site half the time. So there's no downtime in here at all. But we've both got our own systems and preferences. And
is that why so many monitors? So are you the focal guy, or is?
No. Well, we've got the 5.1 focal thing. Then we've got the sub as well, which is nice. I think the Genelecs. They're quite recent. NS10s, obviously, just for NS10 reasons. Genelecs are new in here. I think they're from eBay.
Right.
They sound brilliant.
Yeah.
Like super punchy pop.
It is that big, pop rock
Yeah.
Genelec sound.
So I think, the focals have that kind of width and, they're definitely the A monitors.
Yeah. And they're the SM9s. SM9s. Yeah, I've got the twin 6s, which I adore. So
yeah, I kind of inherited them through Joe.
Right.
I didn't have any input into, he already had them. And my speakers were less good. So it's like, and I'd always
I will
loved,
keep those in.
Yeah. Well, I'd always loved the big Dynaudio, the name escapes me, but that size ones.
The BM, whatever
it is. I've always loved them. And when we came here, he already owned focal sort of set, and
if it ain't broke,
and they're quite different to the Dynaudios, but I'm really comfortable with them now, and I know what I think I know what I'm doing with them.
I think that's the trick, isn't it? Know your rig. Know what you want to achieve is the first thing.
Yeah.
Know what you can achieve.
This is it.
And
I don't get involved with parallel compression and multiband this and blah, blah, blah. I just don't, because there are better people at it. I don't hire myself out to people as a recording engineer, but I know enough how to record what I need to record. Editing, I'm good at my editing, but
I found that can be a major bonus.
Well, especially if it cuts in a picture changing like every second. Often they don't want the performance to change. They like the take. They just want it to be 6 frames different.
Yeah. God love that.
Yeah. So, got to kind of work.
So do you find you'll commit to tape or to tape.
Yeah.
You'll commit compression and things like that, or are you just get it down the mic through the pre and into Pro Tools and then tweak
straight
it?
in. Yeah, because ultimately I'm not the one that's going to be mixing. I'm sending back probably a mono and a stereo, a 10 knot send a blend back, but sometimes there are some people I work for that I will just send a stereo file. Here is the cello.
Yeah, because
I know what they like.
Exactly,
I know what they want. If it's someone new, it'll be a mic and a reverb option because it does sound nice.
And they've probably not got one.
Yeah. But yeah, the compression thing, I have tried and I have failed. So I sort of feel like I'll send back what I think to be a good performance, a good interpretation, or a lot of the stuff I do is kind of structured improvisation. So not sent notes or whatever. It's sent, I get sent cues and asked to add textures or improvise a melody here or improvise this there. They can then chop it up. They can do what they like. But people do have, obviously, they've all got their own different rigs. They've got their own view of what a cello should sound like. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to send them back what I consider to be the most honest sound, and then let someone else mix it.
You pass on.
I know what I know, and I know what I don't know.
So getting away from gear and tech just for a minute, so you're working on a movie or on a piece of someone, are you a flat fee kind of guy, or are you points, or how do you find it? Is there a combination of both? Or
It's a combination. A lot of the time it's basically an hourly fee. It's like a unionized. It really, really depends. I think the quickest answer is there's a whole spectrum of solutions that sometimes there's cue sheet involved. So, if I've written stuff, there are snippets of cue sheet that can be given. That's complicated. That's more like being an additional composer. Mm-hmm. Gets complicated on bigger projects because it just gets complicated. Yeah, generally speaking, sometimes there's like a project fee. Yeah, I don't know. It really, really depends. And sometimes it's, I think more often than not, it's an hourly thing. And the joy of having a room is that, just because you would take 3 or 4 hours to do something somewhere else, if the room is set up, I can walk in at 6 a.m. and get it all sent. I don't have to wait for 10 o'clock for a downbeat to start.
Yes, exactly.
And so a lot of my work is in the States, and it's kind of abusing the time zone difference.
No, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same.
And it's a huge benefit. Both sides of it. Like, I love that kind of work. I love...
You'll get a file that will appear at 10 in the morning because it's travelled overnight or at the end of their day.
Yeah.
By the time they get back to work the following day, the session's in their Dropbox.
This is exactly it. So I'm tonight starting on something where it's exactly that. It's all recording actually into Dropbox so that it all just, when they wake up, because they're starting a mix on Saturday. Anyway, so it's it's a real combination of things, and a lot of it is a straight up standard MU
rate
fee.
Yeah.
And some of it isn't.
See, I tend to find, say, mainly maybe because of my clients or the sort of stuff I'm doing, is it's easier. It's a hell of a lot less grief to just say, it's this much. If you make $1 million off it, then say nice things about me.
Right.
But there's a fairly high chance that's not going to happen. But so back to gear, because quite frankly, that's way easy to talk about. And
no one likes talking about money.
I hate it. I hate contracts and fees and points and things like that. So as well as some very lovely boutique outboard, there's some quirky stuff in here as well.
Yeah.
So there's a Moog Voyager over there.
Moog,
sorry.
please.
Sorry, I do apologise. And
a 37. There's a Mother 32 here as well.
And there's some beautiful little pieces. Have you found you got into Eurorack yet?
I
that's
have
another...
not. There's a guy a couple of buildings over who's... I'm pretty convinced he's going to have to sell his house. Like, he's got obsessed.
Right.
And it's amazing. You see, Junkie XL, Tonti.
Yeah.
his videos, I think, are single-handedly propping up second-hand synth sale markets.
I haven't got into that stuff yet for a very good reason, because my 500 series habit is quite dangerous.
Out of control enough. That's it. And like I said earlier on, I mean, we've got the Moog. I've got the Moog over there,
But what's in transit as we speak, you jammy bugger?
So I have the money has now left the building. A mint condition, like old, original Juno 60, and I had an email out to Soundgas, and like, if one ever comes up,
I want it.
and then it's on their on their thing on their site, and I emailed. I was like, how good is it? And Tony, the guy there, was like, yeah, it's amazing. Fine.
Yeah.
So it's just before we started, they just shipped it.
Nice.
So it'll be here soon.
Very excited by that. And you're changing a few things. You're going to put a rack of vintage.
I think there's also Joe's going to get I think he's got a lot of outboard, but I think he's feeling a little bit down on the synth game at the minute. So he's talking about a Prophet, which would be nice.
I find when you use the word profit, it's a profit in one way, but certainly not in another.
Yes. But I feel like the Moog, I mean, the Voyager is brilliant. Obviously, when I say bang for buck, I don't mean it's cheap, but like all the ins and outs, all the kind of options. I don't use the presets on it, but I love the back panel for sending things in, sending things out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're going to sort of have that all set up and move the little modular rig. This Braids drum set thing is absolutely amazing. We were playing about with it the other day.
So as well as being a classical cellist, you're quite an electronica kind of guy, and you love your synths and
well, my first kind of proper foray into like an album. My first album was just cello and electronics, but kind of delays, tapes, reverb, just kind of creative studio stuff. And my second one was using like big old analog synths and really aggressive. Like if it's a synth, it's just like right in your face. The cello comes in, it's right in your face. And that was down at Mute Studios, and so they had like Gary Newman's Model D and like just some proper like Depeche style stuff, and that was
patch cables everywhere, and
it was brilliant. And so that was my first time with a Space Echo and those sorts of things, which I suppose now are getting quite popular again, like we were saying. But yeah, really into not so much, not like the 70s, 80s necessarily music, but I just love the kind of augmented control, or they blend so well with the stuff I grew up with. The sounds that I grew up learning how to make on a cello, and the music I learnt there, and the kind of music I want to write. Adding this kind of warmth, that bottom end, you can't get anywhere else. And
well, you spend hours faking it in plugins when you could just plug one of those in and it just works.
I know, and they just sit. You don't necessarily hear it. We wouldn't always hear in the sort of stuff I would write. I do write rather. You don't necessarily hear that there's a Moog in there, but if I take it out, you're like, shit, it's a lot quieter now.
Yeah, where's the bottom end?
You feel it's gone. But they complement. I'm doing a computer game at the moment, which is analog synths and cello, but also some clarinet. And between the cello and the clarinet, and a canny use of reverbs, you can blend in and out of, using the sort of the filter cutoffs, you can really create some very cool illusions. And then take it from there. So where a cello or a clarinet might stop or hit a sort of like an amplitude, hit a limit of where you can go, you can just sort of move in with the synth and take off. I've got the boutiques in the Roland Rebuild boutiques, which was where I just used the Juno, the JU06 they call it. And I mean, I'll just show you. It sounds.
It looks like great fun as well.
They're brilliant. I mean, I didn't get the little keyboards because I couldn't get 3, and I wanted to have. I don't have these plugged in, so this is going to be really quiet. but obviously it's just MIDI in
Yeah.
and out. And they sound cool. I mean, they're great.
I think that's the level of synthesis I could go to, quite frankly, because
Yeah, I understand this. It doesn't even have keys, but they're really, really good. And I got really into, like, obviously I anecdotally knew about Junos and played them and stuff, but that thing is so useful. And the really I think kind of globally frustrating thing is that these are, I don't think they make them. There was like a limited run of them. And I just got too excited by it because they're a couple of £100,
yeah.
well priced. They're brilliant. The only downside is they use mini 3.5. They use
So
the mini,
triple A's or
no, they use the mini
jacks.
Mini jacks.
Oh, blimey!
Now I don't have, because I think actually, I don't think. Well, this one might be Siri, but anyway, you have to have these really
Tiny little cables that-
crappy cables with extenders, and where they kind of where they Spice Girls, they two become one.
Yeah.
So you get the stereo out, and you then have to find
Why split everything? And
yeah, and it's annoying.
but it's a small form factor. It's one of those. It's the
and they're
trade-off.
great to fiddle with. But I'm really excited about the arpeggiator on the Juno is like proper.
Yeah.
Proper. But yeah, really into that kind of electronica. The sounds of it. I don't spend a lot of my time listening to electronica, but really love the component parts of
Yeah,
it.
I love putting it into messing around with a synth part
Yeah.
in what I would call a conventional kind of rock band, sort of
Sure.
guitar, bass, drums, and something
Yeah.
crazy. I think my one synth in the studio is my Avid M Audio Venom.
Right.
They made it for about 3 weeks, I think, and yet somehow that thing
Short-lived,
is
but
awesome.
great.
Yeah, because it's enough of a synth that I can understand it.
Also the Novation ones,
Super-
like Bass Station
Yeah,
and
and
the Mini.
the new is it the Ultra Nova?
Yeah, I
the
think-
new one is quite cool. There's a one sat down there somewhere. I look round and there's so many kind of cool things everywhere. I'm like, I want this. Guitar pedals and stuff. I'm assuming for cello, and the fact that Joe's an awkward lefty.
Oh yeah, Joe's an awkward lefty. But I mean, as I say, the vibier. We've got some nice pedals in the pull-out shelves over there,
Which we'll look at.
Which we'll look at in a second. The bulk of that, as I say, Joe uses for mixing, or if he's working with a singer-songwriter or someone who's writing in here. It's just really cool. I mean, I use them for printing effects and things if I'm occasionally asked to send effects. But yeah, as I say, the highlight of my reverb life at the moment is the Murano Echo Chamber,
Yes.
which actually I also got from Soundgas. And
That's very pretty.
it's a Japanese valve tapey thing, and it's just
It's almost a sort of
dirty.
Watkins copycat type thing, but
Which
which you've got probably. Yes, yeah.
But the Murano, it doesn't self oscillate, but it just sounds so dirty, and like the low rumble of it. Actually, I recorded it because half the fun of the sound of these things is the
Yeah.
thing. So I recorded the tape.
You would
into
love
it.
my rebuilt Selmuth just for that.
Right.
I think it's only got 3 replay heads.
Nice.
But it still sounds incredible. I just turn the tape back off and just put everything through it because it's
Yeah.
got.
It's just so good, and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm all for in the box, offline bouncing,
Yeah.
ease of life, everything.
You're on 12, aren't you?
Yeah. I am. And yeah, I'm all for all of those things, but you just can't beat and especially when you've got an analog source like a cello
Yeah.
or a piano or anything that's actually a real interface. Having a mechanically clocked, like sound. I love sound toys, but that stuff, it does kind of come into its own when it's like bang on the grid. Whereas this, it's just fun, like having to kind of dial in.
Yeah.
You can't clock it, and it's just a little bit out of time.
The thing I find, and I was saying this on another studio a couple of weeks ago, saying that with plugins, you tend to, as much as you say to yourself, the way this looks shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
You tend to not be very brutal with plugins. Certainly, I
Yeah.
don't. I tend
You
to
don't
go
fiddle.
Yeah, I tend to go. Well, this is a sound I like. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Whereas with hardware, you go to extremes and you turn the knob or the dial right the
Yeah.
way up and to see what's going to happen. And sometimes you get a moment of absolute genius, like with effects pedals. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with cranking the living out of something
Yeah.
if it sounds good.
There's the I can't remember what it's called, the M4, something, the Moog delay, Moogafuga that they make.
Yes, yeah, the little one,
And it's made. It's cool when it's kind of tickling, but if you push it and then turn it down, obviously, but it just fills up this kind of bitty texture. It's great. But yeah, with and I think also it's with when you're writing, I'm very, very guilty, and I hope other people would say the same. I'm personally very guilty of writing for the samples. So if you've got a sample that doesn't sound very good at going da 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 da, probably going to avoid it.
Yeah.
For the short term, I think that's a bit of a problem. I mean, with Joe, we did an electric cello sample library for Spitfire, who are next door.
that way.
And yeah, they take great pride in making kind of composer tools rather than
Here's a sound library.
yeah. And they're so playable, and yeah, it's
I actually think the Spitfire stuff scores because it has grit.
Christian's phrase I think is that he likes a dirty burger.
It
It's got
sounds
bits in it.
British, I think. I love the East-West stuff and sort of Hollywood strings and things because they're big and lush and clean and lovely.
Yeah.
But sometimes you want to put clean and lush and lovely through some distortion and some nasty to get a kind of real...
Bit of texture.
Yeah. And I think that's where the Spitfire stuff scores really highly.
Yeah, and there's some obviously there are pros and cons of that, but yeah, with Outboard, again in my kind of limited experience of it, even I find it like when you push, you just think, well, what happens if you try to break the tape or like push the tape in? You get all this kind of grit and the flutter, and like what happens if I do this or what happens if you do that? And I personally tend to just go, not to a preset, but go to I like dotted eighth notes on a delay. It sounds cool. I'm not really going to fiddle with that. I know that.
Whereas turning a dial on a tape echo, you're going to go, what does this do?
It's got no recall anyway, so I might as well like fiddle and find out. Yeah, so that's, and then like just looking at it, the Eventide, like getting those kind of things, even super low in the mix, not being a mix engineer, but even just having them tickling, just adds so much warmth and kind of, especially on something like a cello. A lot of my music I'm writing at the moment is obviously for cello and things. And the cello, I'm a huge, huge Coldplay fan, so and cue all the hatred of all the people watching. But I love Coldplay.
Rick is a fan of the blog, so it's all good.
I love that in the new record, this bits where suddenly songs cut out into this really dead vocal.
They're great at
I just
soundscapes.
Love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, how would I do that? Because how would I do that with the cello? Because it's resonant, more resonant. If I go stops, cello, it still lives on a bit. And God bless Amazon Prime. This is a cello practice mute, and you put this. I lost the other one.
A brand spanking new one.
Well, yeah, I left my other one somewhere, and I don't know where. It was like £4. Anyway, you put this over the bridge, and it just stops it making a noise.
Right.
And it just totally kills any resonance. And so that sounds amazing as a kind of vocal cello line.
Right.
Which is slightly counterintuitive because
You'd think that the vocal would resonate.
yeah, like everyone always says, but people do talk of the cello as a very human instrument. But I think actually something like a bassoon or a clarinet is more human because it's got that dead.
Or the farting bedpost, as I mean.
But if you stop speaking, sound stops. If you stop blowing, the sound stops. Whereas that has got immense resonance, and the better instruments have more resonance. So, the more resonance, it becomes less and less direct and human. And so I'm kind of really into like experimenting with that at the minute. And I think that's what I like with synths and organs and things, is it only plays when you're playing it. And at that point you can really mould it and control it and all those things.
Very, very cool. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat. So
Thanks for having me. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, we're at your gaff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a delight to look and drink coffee and stuff and just ogle at gear and talk shop and stuff, and actually come at it from quite a different angle. Come at it from a musician's angle rather than someone who is a tech head first and foremost. And that's nothing against techies or anything like that. I'm as big a gear junkie as the rest of them, but it's been really nice to come in and sort of talk shop and stuff. So thank you for having us. I've been James from Pro Tools Expert. We'll see you again soon for some more gear talk.